and they are great libertarians and great people. Ambassador Rick Grinnell, Senator Mike Lee, Kash Patel, and Senate candidate who's going to win from Virginia, Hung Cao. I also want to pay our deepest respects to the two young missionaries from Missouri, Davy and Natalie Lloyd, that were viciously killed yesterday in Haiti. It was a horrible thing, and I just want to pay our respects to their families. They're great families, incredible people, and it's a very, very sad moment. What happened was so horrible. So to Davy and Natalie, please, thank you very much. I'd also like to express my gratitude to all the fierce champions of freedom in this room. You are champions of freedom. You are indeed. And I'm here to talk to you about the rise of left-wing fascism in the country and to need to defeat the corrupt and incompetent tyrant in the White House, crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States. He is the worst president by far in the history of the United States. In fact, I would say that Jimmy Carter is very happy tonight because he goes down as being a brilliant president by comparison. Everyone here tonight believes that we must fight for the same fundamental freedoms: freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of the right to own a firearm, and freedom over taxation. Oh, that was interesting. Then you're going to like me, firearm, you're going to like me. Nobody better than me. And we just got the full NRA, the strongest endorsement they've ever given the NRA. So that's good. Freedom from overregulation, freedom from government discrimination. And we believe that we do not have a free country if we do not have free speech, and very strongly believe that. We stand opposed to government tyranny in all of its many forms. We are opposed to a government that spies on political campaigns. I wonder who that might be. Like they did on me, spies on the American people, censors us, and crushes the rights of its own citizens, which the Biden administration does. We want government out of our business, out of our wallets, and out of our lives. That's what we want. We believe that Marxism is an evil doctrine straight from the ashes of hell. Having Marxism in our government is intolerable, and teaching it to our children is considered to us child abuse.
I'll occasionally comment, guys.
We believe that the job of the United States military is not to wage endless regime change wars around the globe, senseless wars. The job of the United States military is to defend America from attack and invasion here at home. We believe that property rights are fundamental to a free society and that Joe Biden's rampant inflation is a monstrous theft from the American people. It's a theft. We believe that the greatest threat to our country is not from enemies abroad. It's the tyrants, communists, fascists, and thugs attacking our rights and liberties from within. And above all else, we live by the words of the great American patriot, Patrick Henry: give me liberty or give me death.
Yes.
Our rights and freedoms have never been more in danger than they are right now. That is why I have come to extend a hand of friendship to ask for your partnership to defeat communism, defeat Marxism, and defeat crooked Joe Biden, who is destroying our country. He's destroying our country. We can be libertarian or anything else. This man is destroying our country.
Notice, in the Fed is being chanted, that is libertarian. And then the other side is yelling, we want Trump.
And by the way, why isn't Joe Biden here speaking to you tonight? You know why? Why isn't he? Because he can't put two sentences together. That's why he's not here.
Fact checkers? Anyone?
The fact is, we should not be fighting each other. If Joe Biden gets back in, there will be no more liberty for anyone in our country. Combined with us in a partnership, we're asking that of the Libertarians. We must work together. Combine with us. You have to combine with us. We cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years. We cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years. Today's radical left Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party of years ago, which still wanted big government, but at least believed in tolerance and free speech. Joe Biden's radical left Democrat Party is a fascist movement that wants to throw you in jail. If you post a meme they don't like, they want to throw you in jail if you do something that isn't quite to their liking. What you're witnessing under Biden is a toxic fusion of the Marxist left, the deep state, the military-industrial complex, the government security and surveillance services, and their partners, all merging together into a hideous perversion of the American system. And that's exactly what it is. The fact is that Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. My mission is to liberate our nation from these fascist frauds and to rescue our democracy, to restore our republic, and to evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House so that America can be a free nation once again. He's the worst in history. The Biden regime censors its critics, spies on its opposition, takes away the bank accounts of U.S. citizens as an extra form of punishment, persecutes Christians and patriotic parents, and is currently trying to put the leading candidate for president in jail. That happens to be me. While imposing a strict gag order in order to keep me from talking about their crimes and their unconstitutional acts. They want to get rid of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, due process, the right to a fair trial, and the right to counsel, all the while pushing wealth confiscation and waging endless and unnecessary wars all over the globe. Anyone can talk about defending freedom, but I've actually put everything on the line to resist these despots and these stuff. And I stand before you tonight as your best hope of defeating the weaponized Biden and the very evil regime that his people, because it's probably not him because he doesn't know where the hell he is, but that his people are pursuing. You can make the difference.
Accurate, but it's
the Libertarian Party can make a big difference. The Libertarian Party can make a big difference. Together, we can make America freer than ever before for citizens of all backgrounds and all walks of life. We can unleash new hope, optimism, and energy. We can release limited government so that the people can have an unlimited future. United, we will be unstoppable. If we unite, we are unstoppable. I will be a true friend to libertarians in the White House. And I am proud to be the only president in 70 years who started no new wars. I took on the military-industrial complex. I broke the stranglehold on neocons and warmongers on the Republican Party.
Hey, Tim.
And instead of war, I made peace in the Middle East, something nobody thought was possible, and dealt with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, where a nuclear war was guaranteed to start in a very short period of time if Hillary Clinton became president. You know, that would have been a nuclear war, 100%. And you would have never had the October 7th attack in Israel, would have never happened. And the attack in Ukraine by Russia would never, ever have happened. Wouldn't have happened. Hundreds of thousands and even millions of people would be living today. I unbound the United States from globalist agreements that surrendered our sovereignty. I withdrew from the Paris Accord. I withdrew from the anti-gun UN arms treaty. and I withdrew from the corrupt and very expensive World Health Organization. Not a good thing.
No.
I passed the most significant, and this is so important, but I passed the most significant criminal justice reform in history. And perhaps my proudest accomplishment is to have exposed the depth of corruption in the Washington swamp. Thanks to me, the entire world knows that the deep state is real, and the lamestream media, is fake. It's fake.
I get what he's saying, but no, those words are tough.
A great libertarian who may very well be in the room right now, I believe. But he's a great libertarian, DeRoy Murdoch, who I've become friends with through his writings in the American Spectator and numerous other places, wrote an article yesterday in which he mentions just some of the things that make me a libertarian without even trying to be one. That's nice.
Don't try to be doing
DeRoy wrote, Donald J. Trump will address the Libertarian Party and its national convention on Saturday. The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for president of the United States. Whoa. That's nice.
Dude.
That's nice.
Dude.
Only if you want to win.
Get their buy-in first.
Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe
that
you
is
don't
not
want
how
to
you're
win.
going to do it. Come on, dude.
Thank you, DeRoy. Thank you. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years.
Dude.
The reasons for doing so,
Are you
policy and
serious
politics are as solid as the Hope Diamond. DeRoy says this event is very unprecedented, he said. As the Cato Institute president, Peter Gotler, observed in Thursday's Washington Post, it will be the first time in U.S., think of this, first time in U.S. history that a presidential candidate of a rival party will address the convention of a party that is presumably gathering to nominate its own candidate. Now I think you should nominate me or at least vote for me, and we should win together.
Oh, he's so disconnected.
You heard those words. Nominate me or vote. Vote for me. Because the libertarians want to vote for me, and most of them will. And it's very important. Because we have to get rid of the worst president in history.
Agreed.
And together we will. And without it, there's a risk that we could have 4 more years. We won't have a country left.
No.
So what is the purpose of the Libertarian Party getting 3%? What is the reason to take a chance of having this horrible president destroy our country, which he will do in far less than 4 years? It's not going to take 4 years. That is why I'm committing to you tonight that I will put a libertarian in my cabinet and also libertarians in senior posts.
You say that first. Say that first.
That's pretty big. Or you can keep going the way you have for the last long decades and get your 3%, then meet again, get another 3%. Now, you want to make yourself winners. It's time to be winners. You have a lot of common sense. It's time to be winners. So I'm asking for the liberation. Well, think of it. I'm asking for the Libertarian Party's endorsement, or at least lots of your votes, lots and lots of libertarian votes, based on my 4-year, very outstanding presidential record. Much of my record is libertarian. As an example, DeRoy, thank you. Hey, where is DeRoy? Is he here? DeRoy, where are you? He's great. I like DeRoy. I've liked him for a long time, and he is a libertarian. Thank you, DeRoy. Thank you. DeRoy wrote, the $1.5 trillion Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was America's largest infusion of tax release. That's it, largest tax relief ever. It sliced individual tax rates for all taxpayers and slashed corporate tax rates from a punishing 35% to a globally competitive, and much more than that, only 21%, way down. It was the largest tax cut in the history of our country. Now you can like it or you don't have to like it. Immediate expensing of business equipment and other reductions fueled the best economy that our country has ever had. For 4 years, we had the best economy our country has ever had. Black and Hispanic unemployment reached the best levels in history. Female joblessness slid to levels unseen before. Black poverty collapsed to record lows. And all of the things, income inequality shrank, and it shrank at levels we've never witnessed. Between 2016 and 2019, real median household income grew. These were the Trump years, 16.4%, the highest ever, to almost $10,000 per family. Think of that. Number two, Trump cut red tape as never before. He promised to kill 2 old regulations for every new one. And in fact, he ended up actually scrapping 8 for 1, and he was going to 12 to 1 and doing numbers that were unbelievable. Thank you, DeRoy. DeRoy is, and I'm actually just quoting from the article that came out today from DeRoy Murdoch. He said, number 3, Trump fully restrained inflation. We had practically none. Prices were rising just 1.4% as he left office. And this was a fraction of the 9% inflation that lying Joe Biden repeatedly claims Trump handed him. No, he said we handed him. No, it went up to 9% after he took over the White House and created all the inflationary acts. He did a horrible job. The 30-year mortgage rate, as Trump departed, was 2.77% versus the almost 9% today. And you, by the way, even if you pay 9%, you can't get any money. There's no money available. Trump's drill, baby, drill approach fostered energy independence, which we've never had before. Low fuel and electricity prices helped moderate inflation and propel economic growth. But all of these things have now skyrocketed. They have skyrocketed to levels never seen. Inflation has hit us harder than it's probably ever hit us before, and people are suffering because of it. Trump promoted parental rights and school choice. Trump's education department repealed the so-called guidance letter that turned on-campus sexual harassment accusations into de facto criminal convictions. You know all about that. Who else would do that for you? Trump restored due process to the he said, she said minefield for your children. I know many, many people, what they've gone through with that is they've gone through hell. In a powerful blow, Trump required universities to respect the First Amendment lest they lose their federal funds. I said, you don't respect the First Amendment, we're taking away all of your federal funding. Trump torpedoed Obamacare's individual mandate and got rid of many of its taxes. Medical price transparency empowered consumers to shop for health care services and compare costs. And this is one of the biggest things that's happened, and it's reducing the price of drugs and everything related to drugs and medical care at levels not seen before. This will soon be happening. The competition is now slowing what were ballooning health care expenses. Trump signed right to try. Terminally ill patients now can receive experimental and possibly life-saving treatments. And when at death's door, what do these suffering Americans have to lose? What do they have to lose, you ask? They are so thousands and thousands of people are now living because of right to try. Trump nominated some 300 constitutionalist federal judges, a record, including a seldom seen 3 Supreme Court justices in one presidential term.
Throw one in the chat if you think Trump is doing the right thing.
Very rarely seen before, if ever. Trump canceled and defunded federal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and other state-funded racism schemes. The VA Mission Act, which Trump signed, lets military veterans receive federally funded medical care in the private sector if delays prevent their treatment in VA hospitals. In other words, if they're delayed, they can go out and get a private doctor. We pay the bill. They go out, they get a private doctor, they get better. People were waiting online for 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, and not anymore. Trump signed a measure that streamlined dismissals of federal bureaucrats who abuse America's beloved veterans. He got NATO countries to pay hundreds of billions of dollars more for their protection. The only president who did so and substantially reducing what we were forced to pay. We got them to pay, other nations to pay hundreds of billions of dollars that they weren't paying. No other president was able to do that, reducing very substantially what we paid. During the Trump administration, we had peace through strength.
I want to talk to
no
this
wars
after.
other than the complete and total destruction of ISIS. And DeRoy ended by saying that most libertarians would say this is a non-exhaustive roster of accomplishments like no other, that it truly shines. So again, DeRoy, thank you very much. DeRoy Murdoch, I appreciate it. We could not have written that better. And as you say, there were many other things we did that were quite libertarian also. So I want to thank you very much. That was a great article. Thank you. DeRoy Murdoch, thank you. When I return to the White House, we will break the deep state grip on our democracy once and for all. I did far more than any other president in that regard. As an example, I inherited James Comey, a terrible, terrible person from the Obama administration. And very early on, I fired him and lots of others at the FBI, in addition to thousands and thousands of corrupt and unnecessary people throughout our government. And now we are going to finish the job. We will root out the sickness that has taken over our Justice Department, our FBI, and other agencies. Our goal will be nothing less than the rebirth of fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. Since the day he took office, Joe Biden has worked to persecute political dissidents, including conservatives, Catholics, and other Christians and opponents of his weaponized state. Right now, the Biden DOJ is trying to put Christians in prison for 11 years for the crime of singing hymns. The moment I win the election, I will appoint a special task force to rapidly review the cases of every political prisoner who has been unjustly persecuted by the Biden administration so that I can sign their pardons or commutations on day one.
Say it, Trump. We want free Assange, free Snowden, and free Ross.
And I will ensure that libertarians are helping to lead that task force. You'll be on that task force, many of you. As everyone knows, it will be my great honor to pardon the peaceful January 6th protesters, or as I often call them, the hostages. They're hostages. There has never been a group of people treated so harshly or unfairly in our country's history. This abuse will be rectified, and it will be rectified very quickly. And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht.
There you go.
Sentence of time
if
served.
you said that before you got all the booze, you would be doing better. It's your ego. For those that don't know about Ross Ulbricht, this is well before my day. Here, be the change.
He's already served 11 years. We're going to get him home. We're going to get him home. I'm proud that I have put forward a detailed plan to smash the censorship and industrial complex and restore free speech. On day one, I will sign an executive order banning federal agencies from colluding to censor the lawful speech of American citizens. And we will remove the rogue bureaucrats who conspire to take away your First Amendment freedoms. We will do that quickly. I will once again slash a record number of liberty-destroying regulations. I will stop Joe Biden's plan for the largest tax. He is going to give you the largest tax increase in the history of our country.
Taxation.
And I will end that. And I will make the Trump tax cuts the biggest in the history of our country. We will make them permanent tax cuts. We will also stop the massive Biden inflation tax, a stealth tax by which crooked Joe Biden is printing trillions and trillions of dollars and plundering it for the cronies and political friends that he's got all over Washington. And we will cancel the Green New Deal, which is the Green New Scam. It's a big scam. We will terminate Crooked Joe's insane electric vehicle mandate. And we're going to bring your energy costs down by 60 and 70% because we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We will eliminate illegal government discrimination and return to a society based on individual rights and individual merit.
Notice we want Trump gets drowned out by End the Fed real quick.
Thank you. And I will also stop Joe Biden's crusade to crush crypto. We're going to stop it. I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right to self-custody to the nation's 50 million crypto holders. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. I will also immediately end the humanitarian disaster on our southern border. We will end it quickly. You cannot have capitalism and also have open borders because you will soon be turned into a socialist nation, then a poor nation, and finally you will be a failed nation. By ending the border crisis, which we will do immediately, we will save freedom, prosperity, and capitalism in America. And before I even arrive at the Oval Office shortly after we win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, so we quit spending hundreds of billions of dollars to fight other people's wars, and so that we start immediately saving thousands and thousands of lives. And I am committed to restoring peace and restoring stability and to stopping Joe Biden's march to World War III. You know you're being led right into World War III. You know that. You're going to have World War III, and it'll be a war like no other because of the weaponry, the massive weaponry. It will be a war like no other. We will stop it, and I'm the only one that's going to be able to stop it. I will protect American sovereignty from the creeping hands of global government. And as we speak, Joe Biden's minions are in Geneva, secretly negotiating to surrender more of our liberty to the World Health Organization. Drafts of the agreement show that they want to subjugate America to foreign nations, attack free speech, empower the World Health Organization to redistribute American resources. They're going to take our money and send it all over the world to other countries that we need for our own citizens in the event of a pandemic. And it can happen again. I am hereby demanding that Joe Biden submit these monstrosities to the Senate as treaties. They have to be submitted as treaties because he cannot be allowed to do that, destroy our country. He is. If he does not, I will rip them up and throw them out on day one of the Trump administration. On education, we will cut federal funding for any school pushing Marxist and communist race and gender theories on our children. We will keep men out of women's sports. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. We will shut down our out-of-control federal Department of Education and give it back to the states and local governments. I will return power to the states, local governments, and to the American people. I am a believer in the 10th Amendment. I will always defend religious liberty and the right to keep and bear arms. And I will secure our elections. So in conclusion, to every freedom lover here today, and there are a lot of them, and all across our land, I say, this is no ordinary election. Freedom itself is at stake. This will be the most important election in the history of our country. So if you want to strike a blow against the corrupt system in Washington, if you want to send a message to all of the people who want to take away your liberty, then right now in this election, we need your help. We need your support. When I'm in the White House, you will always find an open door to the Oval Office. Together, we are taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. But no matter how hateful or corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting are, and they are vicious and they are corrupt, you must never forget, this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you.
Back.
Belongs to you.
Back.
This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. 2024 is our final battle. With your help, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. And we will drain the swamp, and we will restore and rescue our country from these tyrants and villains once and for all.
And do it this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great liberation of America begins on November 5th, 2024. It will be the most important day in the history of our country. And the forgotten man and woman
was rough,
will be forgotten no longer. I want to thank you. I want your support. And again, you can either nominate us and put us in the position or give us your votes. I would say nominate or give us your votes, but we want libertarian votes because you stand for what we stand for, and don't waste a vote. And don't allow the worst president in the history of our country to come back and do the final destruction of America. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you. God bless you.
I have to say, well, as this is closing out, let me just turn down the audio. We're going to turn that down, and I'm going to talk over it a little bit. Trump started off on the wrong foot. He came in midway, started cleaning it up because he was getting booed off that stage. Sorry, an animal sneezed and it sounded like it was going to die. Sorry. Anyways, so way he started it is he was saying you have to vote for me because you're only shooting to get 3% of the vote. That's all you're trying to do. So you should vote for me to get Joe Biden out of office. If he would have did that at the end, saved it from the beginning, he would have got a lot more buy-in. He practically got booed off the stage. You already know you're going into a tough crowd. If Trump was even self-aware at all at this convention, there is a huge amount of people that were yelling and screaming at the chair of the the Libertarian Party, saying that we should not be having any other party here.
Getting a lot of reaction
from the Libertarian. Let me kill this. I'm going to talk to it. Pause it. So he started off on the wrong foot. He should have started off with all of the things, especially talking about Ross Ulbricht. I'm going to touch on this, Who is Ross? Marcia. So who is Ross? Ross Ulbricht ran a black market, dark web website that was utilized in a lot of ways for a lot of things. He is serving 2 full life sentences for hosting a website. I was reminded of this morning when I woke up and I read a message by Free, and it clicked when I read his message that we're forgetting about Ross Ulbricht. And we are. He is serving 2 life sentences for hosting a website. That was the beginning of censorship on the internet, and that was in 2011. And so it started to prove out from that point. 2013, excuse me. His arrest was in 2013. Ross Ulbricht, Edward Snowden, Julian Assange. Those are 3 names that need to be wiped clean for exposing the corruption in the United States government. Ross Ulbricht had a free speech platform that people freely spoke on. They crucified him, in my mind, in my opinion, for running a free platform that he could do whatever he wanted. Yeah, look it up. He is going to serve more than Bernie Madoff. He is going to serve more than Ghislaine Maxwell. He will serve more than anybody else that I can really come up with in the political arena for running a website because he didn't censor people. It's absolutely absurd. Now, when it comes to Trump, I want to speak to this. I think he did well. So, Russo, I don't completely disagree with you. I just wish he started it off better. He did very well. He did all the talking points, but he really needs to go back and talk to Vivek and see how Vivek did it last night. Vivek did it last night. He got some boos right at the beginning, but he ended with a huge applause with an enormous support because he was saying, guess what? We see eye to eye more than you realize. Let's come together and let's do this right. And that is what Vivek does. And that is why I'm such a big fan of him being the VP, is he is a perfect yin to the yang of Trump. You give Trump a mic and his ego just blows up. And that's what happened tonight. When it comes to it, I think this was the greatest thing for politics. And I was telling Emily, and this is why my live stream was so last minute, guys. I wasn't planning to do it. But as I saw it starting, I was like, wait a minute. I should be covering this. And so I ran up here to my desk and I just after eating, and I'm like, we got to cover this. Trump could learn from the Libertarian Party. I hope he does. He did very well tonight. He said all the right things. Russo, I already told you. If he has Vivek as his VP, I am voting Trump. No doubt. If Vivek is VP, I am voting Trump. And the main reason why, and Vivek said it last night, 75% reduction in government size. That is one of the biggest decision makers, like the deciding factors for me. If we can get our government shrunk by 75%, then he probably won't get my vote. Because let's go with what the mainstream media is saying. The mainstream media is saying that he's going to pick Rubio. You can't tell me you're going to drain the swamp and pick Rubio. That doesn't make any sense. He picked Mike Pence. So we'll have to see who he picks. If there's somebody else, I can't say there is nobody else that he would pick that would help. I would buy in. There wouldn't be. But also, to address this, Vivek was debating the VP of the Libertarian Party last night. Why was that happening? And why is Vivek the one traveling with Trump and coming here? the only other person that came here with the Republican Party, which I'll cover this, I think is a huge person that is going to probably join the cabinet somewhere, is Mike Lee. Mike Lee announced earlier today, and by the way, huge shout out to Free on Twitter. He has some videos over on Twitter right now, or X, whatever we want to call it, that I need to be sharing out some more because I just barely started watching them. And so Free has some great clips of Dave Smith, which I'm going to do a write-up on, and so you guys can see. I'll post it on the Truth page, and I'll post it on my page, because the Truth page, Facebook is just silencing right now. We might as well be waterboarded on social media. But Dave Smith killed it before Trump came out. Dave Smith, yes, thank you, Marcia, for tagging him. Dave Smith came out and was telling both parties, like the Republicans, the MAGA guys that were there, and the Libertarians, how we come together, how we see actually eye to eye. Because that's where a lot of people think, and Russo can vouch to this because he's gotten messages from some of our followers. Why is Casey on this platform? He's not a Trump supporter. Because I'm not. I like Trump. I like what he's done, but he still has some flaws that I need addressed. And so that's why. But I do see he does some right things. 2019 was the greatest economy US has ever had. I've repeated that over and over and over. But when it comes back to how we actually make decisions and do the right thing, we have to have some foundation and some principles. And we have to start making some change. If we keep buying into what is now the duopoly, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, we have to start just backing away and doing something new. But I think today, with all of the Republicans that have showed up to the Libertarian Party, I think they're starting to poll people. We're going to start seeing some evolution in politics today. We are going to see some evolution. This Libertarian National Convention, and I was texting Russo and Cash just before this. I should have been at this event. I should have. I didn't think that it was going to be that crazy, but this was an awesome event. When you start taking in what was done from the Republican Party, they sent the right people. Whether they were sent by them or not, I don't care. The right representation was there. The Libertarian Party was very upset, a lot of them. There was a huge chunk of Libertarian people led by Lars and Belay. I think it's Lars. Lars and Belay from the Libertarian Party were very upset that Trump was even coming to talk. This was the most eyes the Libertarian Party has ever seen. And this includes the Ross Perot era. You can't shame the Libertarian Party for bringing these guys in and being like, look, we can do better. We can bring people together. We don't have to buy into Republican or Democrat to make change. We can do something different. Who's the nominee for the Libertarians? There's plenty of them. You have Josh Smith. Josh Smith was on the stage as a presidential candidate. You had Clint Russell as the VP. They're structured very different. Lars Rasmussen is a presidential candidate. Belay is a presidential candidate. Russo, if you want to join us on Spaces, we actually do Spaces with them quite regularly. And so they exist. It's just they're silenced in your typical areas of where you get your media. When it comes down to this whole thing, I think the Libertarian National Convention this year knocked it out of the park. They're ending tomorrow with a speech from the man himself, Ron Paul. He is the keynote speaker, and he is ending the whole event tomorrow. I don't think you could come up with another event that was more well orchestrated to bring people together from different events. What's a space? Life like a space? Yes. Russo, because you're so stuck in the meta world, I'm sure that's why you're asking this question. Yes, I get it. But when it comes to this convention, I have to applaud the Libertarian convention for putting this whole thing together. I think this was well done. I wanted to come back to Trump a little bit more, though. I wish he would have started off on the foot of saying what he's going to do that will get that he sees eye to eye with everybody that is libertarian, which is a huge percentage. It's a huge percentage that we see eye to eye, probably 60 to 70% when it comes to Trump. I'm not saying Republicans. When it comes to Trump, 60 to 70% of policies, libertarians and Trump align. And it's interesting. Well, here's the thing, Jeanette. Sure. Let me pose this for you. I'm not in any kind of mood to support a new team. I want this train back on track like 4 years ago. But you only have 4 years with Trump. What are you going to do? You're going to start seeing me post as of January 21st, 2025. What are you going to be doing in 2028? Because most of these people look at Trump to make every decision that they make. Every decision that they make. They have to start making decisions on their own and actually coming together and forming a real opinion. Right now, Trump makes all of their opinions. And that's my biggest problem with the MAGA. And that's why they're called cults. We have to fix that. After that, I hope. This is what I've been preaching. The perfect setup. Trump VP 24 through 28, 28 through 32, and then 32 through 36 is Vivek as president. I think that is the perfect setup. We'll see if it happens. Back to Trump again. But overall, with this whole thing, I just wish he came with a different approach. But I can't say I'm disappointed, because if I am disappointed in how Trump handled it, then I just don't know Trump very well. I just don't, because Trump has this ego, and he struggles in that sense. But if you go back and look at how Vivek handled it last night, matter of fact, let me just pull that up. Let me just show you. Vivek's speech last night was phenomenal. Was absolutely phenomenal. Give me 2 seconds. I'm pulling up Vivek's YouTube, and then I'll share this. Stop screen. Bear with me a second, guys. I'm just moving some things around. I wasn't planning to play this, but we will play it. Not the whole thing, because it's long. But when it comes to the way he handled this,
for having me. It's good to be here. I got to tell you that libertarian rapper career, my stage name used to be Devek. I don't know. Got a sense for how well that worked
Horrible
out.
joke.
I took the
Horrible
next
joke.
logical
Russo,
step
he
to
needs
be
your
a
speaking
successful
class.
rapper, which was becoming an analyst at a biotech-focused hedge fund, where I worked for. Yeah, that sounds good. Because it's important. We call out everybody here.
See? Hang on.
What was the old Ron Paul quote? Truth is treason in their empire of lies. That's the modern Democratic Party. And truth is treason today, but we're going to speak the truth and commit treason of truth right here in Washington, D.C. I have also been a longtime skeptic of the establishment wing of the Republican Party. Think about the party that led us into war in Iraq in 2004. It wasn't really the Democrats. It was the Republicans.
Facts.
In the wake of 9/11. I was against it at the time.
Notice this, guys. His approach is saying, look what the Republican Party did. I am not all in on the Republican Party, and Trump is not either. We all know this. Trump was formerly a Democrat. So when you look at these things, his approach, this is why people are scared of him, is because he's so well spoken and he knows how to speak to people. But in this scenario, he is approaching it the right way by saying, I'm not all Republican. They took us into these wars. He knows that's a topic for the Libertarian Party. He knows the Libertarian Party does not support war and intervention. Unless we are attacked, we don't need to be involved. That is what libertarians preach all day long. And so when it comes to these things, this is how Vivek complements
Look at the
Trump
party
very
that
well.
Not only give us the crony capitalist conditions for the 2008 financial crisis. People miss this. This was not greed that caused the 2008 financial crisis. This was government-ordained policy that created the financial crisis from the actions of the U.S. Federal Reserve to rain money from on high like manna from heaven. That's what gave us the 2008 financial crisis. And by the way, I didn't tell you my own story here. My parents came to this country 40 years ago with no money. You know what? When I graduated from college, I didn't make any bones or apologize for it. I did not focus on anything else.
I don't know if I've ever heard that he said because they're stupid, but that's interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Bad year to get a job in New York City, turns out. RFK Jr. earlier today. And I'm just going to be calling it out.
I'm not going to play this whole thing, guys. I'm going to skip through to a couple points.
His commitment to medical freedom, something that many of you in this room share as well. I will first acknowledge that. Got to respect somebody who stands for actual medical freedom.
Right.
But RFK Jr. is in no sense a libertarian in any meaningful sense of the word. I mean, the fact is, you cannot say you support free speech in this country if you also have, even in the past, advocating for imprisoning those who have spread climate disinformation.
Facts.
The Second Amendment is not a recommendation, it is a right. And I'm going to say this, call it like it is. I'm proud to be not only the only Republican candidate who came to PorcFest this year, but also to be the only presidential candidate of any party that did not require people to disabuse themselves of their Second Amendment rights in order to enter those grounds either. And I don't think that you're a libertarian if you behave like the other side. I'm glad he's skeptical of the government narrative on vaccine. 9/11 surveillance state. Back then it was the Patriot Act. Today, what is it? It is the expansion. It's not the renewal of FISA 702. It is the expansion of FISA 702. That's what Republicans are rooting for by large numbers today. The same party that took us into the Iraq War is now forking over more of your own taxpayer dollars.
Republican Party.
So one fork in the road for the Republican Party is to go the way of Dick Cheney of the past. Yet the other path that's now emerging as the fork in the road is to go in favor of what they will call industrial policy, but what increasingly looks and smells like a right-wing version of a nanny state. And I don't support that either. The right answer there is none of the above. What is the right answer? The right answer has to do with the people who are in this room.
Facts.
That's the right answer. It's a false choice between the new crony capitalism, the new right-wing nanny state alternative to the left-wing nanny state. I say no to that.
Let's jump again.
By working together. And I will tell you this, I'm speaking to you as a libertarian at my own core. I have gotten to know Donald Trump over the course of the last several years and the last several months. And you're going to hear from him tomorrow night. And the question is, do you want to influence the next administration or don't you? That is the question for this room to ask. And my thesis for you, you believe it? You all get to speak your mind. I respect that. Libertarians in the room got to speak up. But now the question is, how do you get it done? I believe the future of this country depends on a libertarian nationalist alliance that will save this country. That's what I believe is required. And my challenge to you is, how do we work together to actually restore free speech in this country? So you get to speak your mind as long as I get to in return. How do we actually restore religious liberty in this country? So you are free to worship if you wish to worship how you want in this country. How do we work together to restore the actual Second Amendment, not as a recommendation, but as a right in this country? How do we put an end to a central bank digital currency once and for all in the United States? How do we end the Federal Reserve's failed policies and bring competition to the dollar in the United States?
Here we go.
America?
This is next it.
No, I love it. How do we shut down the three-letter agencies that populate this infested cities in Washington, D.C.? We're not just reforming it. You cannot reform that beast. You want to get serious, get in there and shut it down. Shut down the FBI. Shut down the ATF. shut down the CDC, shut down the U.S. Department of Education, fire 75% of the federal bureaucrats
Yes.
in Washington, D.C., and send them home packing because they never should have had that job in the first place. Rescind every unconstitutional federal regulation that Congress never passed. SEC to FTC to FDA to TSA. I call that 1,000 standing around, by the way. God knows what. Shut it down. So the question is, how do we work together to actually make possible in this country what we have not yet achieved? How do we revive who we are? The Constitution of 1789, the Revolution of 1776. I am sick and tired of standing around here complaining about it. But what I wish to do is to translate this vision into action, because that's what our founding fathers did 250 years ago. You don't get this without making a sacrifice. It's easy to pat yourself on the back and say you say the right things, but if you want to translate it to action, this is our moment to do it. You want to end foreign wars? Great. End foreign aid to every other country around the world that doesn't advance U.S. taxpayer interests.
Yes.
Fund the tax code while we're at it. Exit the UN. Stop funding the WHO. This is within reach, my friends. And everything I'm telling you, this isn't new for tonight. This is what I've been saying for the last year across the presidential campaign trail.
I'm going to stop him right there. And yes, he has been saying that the entire time, which is why I have been such a big proponent of Vivek the entire time. His message has not changed. He has said the same things. And these are the same things that I believe in. We need smaller government. Republicans are not doing smaller government anymore. They're blowing it up just as much as the left is. Now, here's the other part that I wanted to share from the Republican side. And shout out to Free for this video, because he actually did this, and there's another video that he's uploading. I've been exchanging some texts with him while he's there. But this one, Mike Lee from Utah freaking killed it. Killed it. I want you guys to hear this.
Libertarian. That's a good crowd we got here. That's a beautiful crowd. You were a good-looking crowd. You're exciting. It's a lot like a family gathering in Utah. It's a little bit like a family gathering in a family with fertility problems. But, you know, we have big families here. Speaking of families, I want to tell you a little bit of a story. My son James, a few years ago, was dating this girl named Cassie. Love Cassie. Cassie's beautiful. Cassie's a musician. Kathy knew nothing about politics. She knew nothing about what James's father does for a living, and we were fine with her not knowing that. I think she thought I was a carnival ride operator. But at some point, when Cassie realized that it was getting serious, she figured out what I do for a living. She realized, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I am politically. So naturally, she went online and took a quiz. So she approached James. She wasn't sure how he'd react to the news of what she was. She said, James, I took the quiz, and I found out what I am politically. She was very nervous, and he said, what are you? She said, I'm a libertarian. And James was so relieved, and he said, that's great, that's okay, that's pretty much what we are. We're just not quite pure enough to be that, but, you know, we were going to agree a little bit. But here's what happened. James and Cassie, it was fate, they got married. And just about 5 weeks ago, they had a baby. Her name is Daisy, and she's beautiful. And it worked out well. This combination between my constitutional conservative son and my libertarian daughter-in-law, it produced a perfect offspring. I was holding Daisy. She's like 6 weeks old now, just an hour ago before I got here. I was holding her. True story. True story. She looks up at me, barely old enough to smile.
He's got soft feelings.
She says, Grandpa, you've got to introduce it next week. I didn't know she could talk. Just learned how to smile. And I said, introduce what? And she said, and the Fed.
Yeah.
So let's make a deal here. So I'm going to break a little news tonight, right now. First time anyone's hearing it. Next week, I'm introducing the End the Fed bill in the United States Senate.
Let's go!
I'll tell you what else. That creature, that bastard creature from Jekyll Island will not know what hit it.
You guys, if you guys haven't read that book, go get that book,
So,
Creature
what else
from
should we talk
Jackal
about?
Island. You will
I've got
want to
another
read
bill
it.
that you might like. You might not have heard of it. It's called the No CBDC Act. Look, it's not just the central bank digital currency would mess up our monetary system. It's that it would end the Constitution as we know it, and we must never, ever, ever allow that to happen.
So, guys, you had Vivek on stage debating the Libertarian VP, which is Clint Russell. I love him. Liberty Lockdown is his podcast. Go check it out. You also had Vivek on stage just speaking, as you guys saw. You had Trump on stage speaking to the Libertarian Party. You also had Mike Lee speaking to the Libertarian Party and putting up bills that are libertarian minded. Now, I think like Mike Lee just started following me on Twitter. That was really cool this last few days to actually see that happen. But Mike Lee, I'm seeing making the change. He is actually switching to being more libertarian mindset. But I want to share one more thing with you guys on how this all started. Tonight, before Trump came on stage, it started with who I absolutely love. Dave Smith is a huge libertarian in mind, and you guys have heard me talk about him, but ultimately when it comes to Dave Smith, he really is libertarian in the sense of today's world. It's a modern libertarian, so it's not old school. It takes in a little bit of the changes that we have today. But I honestly look at this man as the future of politics. He just needs to be put into those places to make these decisions and help put it in the right place. And let me come back to this a little bit more on Jeanette. I want to unite. Kim, it's about unity. I want you guys to keep that in mind when listen to this video from, this recording from, by the way, this is by Free also. So I'm going to keep this up. Thank you, Free, for the video. This is his whole speech. Everybody clipped and chopped this speech, and I couldn't get the whole thing. I want you guys to hear this. This is a little bit long, but it's well worth it. You will want to hear this entire thing.
There's broadly speaking, I think, two groups of people here. Okay? No, but I'm serious. There are members of the Libertarian Party, and there are people who came here to support Donald Trump. Listen, I have a message for both of you individually. I hear you. To the members of the Libertarian Party, which I am also one. Guys, listen, here's my message to the libertarians here. The former president of the United States of America and the current frontrunner to be the next president is here to talk to you. We are not a bunch of college leftist sissies. We believe in free speech. So be respectful. I'm not telling you have to agree with him, and I'm not telling you have to cheer for him. But we're not having like Jordan Peterson at Berkeley event here. And the message we're sending to the world is not that we can't handle ideas that we disagree with. We are libertarians. We are constantly surrounded by ideas that we disagree with. We're in Washington, D.C., for God's sake. And here's my message to the Donald Trump supporters who are here. You came to the Libertarian Party National Convention, and we're libertarians around these parts. So let me tell you a little bit about what we believe in case you're not sure. Here's what we believe. Donald Trump, as president of the United States of America, was framed for treason by his own deep state. And those people belong in jail. It is an absolute crime against our nation that the intelligence agencies that supposedly work for the president would dare frame a presidential candidate. But they crossed a whole nother line when they framed the sitting commander-in-chief. And not one of them has paid for that. And that is unacceptable. Around these parts, we are truly America first. We believe in no foreign adventurism. We are strict non-interventionists. The proxy wars of choice following 20 years of disastrous terror wars in Ukraine and in Israel are absolutely inexcusable, and America should have no part of either of them. We are $34 trillion in debt. Hey, to the Trump supporters, you guys remember the day after the election when it was totally unclear what happened? And you remember how Donald Trump bent over backwards for years to give Benjamin Netanyahu everything he wanted? And then remember how Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated Joe Biden that next morning? Do you really want to fund that guy unconditionally? Just saying. Furthermore, we also want to drain the swamp. But here's what we recognize, and tell me if you think we're right or we're wrong. As long as you have a centralized government in Washington, D.C., spending $6+ trillion a year, which they hand out to politically connected cronies, you will never drain the swamp. The only way to drain the swamp is to cut government spending drastically. Around here, we believe in sound money. Printing trillions of dollars a year has debased our currency, and it's made life miserable for working and middle-class Americans, while that same wealth is transferred to the wealthy and the politically connected. Abolish the Federal Reserve and reinstitute sound money.
Yes. You guys hear that? Argentina did it. Why can't we?
Oh man, you guys all might get deported by the end of this show. And listen, and in addition to all of that, if you want to get serious about making America great again, why is it that we want to make America great again? I am a father of 2 little children. That's my primary reason for wanting this country to be great, but that's where my kids are going to grow up. Well, currently, what we've done is we're handing the
I'll send you a link. Do you want to come?
$34+ trillion
I'll send you a link right now.
debt, and that is absolutely unacceptable. Everybody who loves this country needs to know that we cannot keep racking up debt like this. We have our own problems. No more giving money to the rest of the world. No more debasing our currency and printing money. You start talking like that, and let me tell you something, libertarians are listening. Please be respectful when Donald Trump is out here. That doesn't mean you have to agree with him. That doesn't mean you have to vote for him. Listen to what he says. Have an honest reaction. Trump supporters who are here, please listen to what some of the grievances these libertarians have, because I actually think there's not that much daylight between a lot of us. And I think a lot of us really want what's best for this country. Thank you guys very much. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Guys, seriously. Guys, what about that was nothing but unity and bringing people together and reaching across the aisle to the other party that we see mostly in line with, that we want the best for our country. This is why I said Trump started off on the wrong foot. I went backwards because kind of it just worked that way, but also it showed you how it kind of went backwards in progress. When you had Trump taking the strong stance at the very beginning, give me just a sec, Free, I'll bring you up, okay? But Trump had such a strong stance at the beginning, and he kind of lost some people. But when you go and look at how Vivek did it, how Mike Lee did it, how Dave Smith did it, if Trump would actually set his ego aside a little bit and actually handled it the same way those three other guys did, that room would have been fire. Fire. And that is where I have some problems with him. But I can't, most of his policies are pretty legit. All right, Free, I'm going to bring you up. If you're ready, man, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. I see you moving around a little bit. So this is why, like, I agree with all of you guys that say unity is important. I've been saying the same thing. But you can't say that when we're looking at these scenarios and we're saying we're all in on Trump, when you have all of these other people that are younger than him that are going to be coming up behind him. We have to start supporting them. Yeah, let me know when you're ready, man. I see it kind of flopping back and forth. I know you're on your phone, so I'm just trying to... You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Dude, thank you. I thank you for one, like all of the videos. It really pisses me off that I'm not there. But
Dude,
I want to know
I'm
your...
trying to upload more. This is this is the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. If this wasn't the craziest political thing in our lifetime, I can't even think of what would be next. There was yelling the whole time. There was the RFK Jr. people had chickens that they were squeaking at him. There were kazoos. There was probably about 1,000 Ross Ulbricht signs. It was just pandemonium, chaos. It was unreal, dude. It was just so crazy.
It had to be, and I want to know your perspective. I'm a little rough on Trump for the way he started his speech. I think he could have done better. What is your 2 cents on it?
So I don't even know if I've digested it. I feel like I was like front and center, and I'm sitting there with Julian Assange's brother, and we're kind of waiting to see if he mentions Assange, and I'm like, it was like I was on the offensive line for the entire time. The Secret Service are whipping around, checking to see if people are going to throw something. And it was crazy. It was absolute insanity. And to top it off, it's at the hotel that Hinckley tried to assassinate Reagan at. And,
No way.
Yeah, so we're I'm literally standing right where Reagan got shot. That's where I'm standing right this second. It was the closest I could get to something where I could actually hear and maybe have a connection. And it was absolute insanity.
Dude,
like I said, I'm still I'm not shaking, but I'm right on that. Right on the cusp of that, it was just pure chaos back to, Mike Lee. It was just absolute chaos from Mike Lee on. People just screaming the whole time, heckling, booing, chanting. Absolute insanity, man.
So What would you say? Would you say, like, I know there was a lot of chanting, there was a lot of all of the loud noise. Was it overall positive?
I think it'll play on TV like more negative than it actually seemed. There was several people that just, it seemed like they yelled the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I thought people were pretty respectful. I mean, they booed when appropriate, and
Yeah.
I think Dave Smith thing uploaded, right?
Yes, I played that
Dave,
just before you brought you up.
Okay. So I mean, Dave Smith, you know, he actually said it. I went to the lunch with him today too, and you know, he said it both in the lunch and he said it before this. You know, like, you know, heckling's stupid, booing's appropriate, and for the most part, I mean, I thought that people were pretty well behaved. I thought it actually could go worse, which, you know, when you're dealing with Trump and libertarians, that's worse could be really bad. So
Agreed. The reason why I asked that is because one of the things that I did not like what Lars did when he was doing his closing speech. It was just anti-Trump being there at all. And it's like, guys, do you realize what this is doing for the party? And that is what Josh and Dave Smith and Clint are bringing to the Libertarian Party, is trying to say, hey, we have never had this many eyes on us ever in the past. How can we embrace this? Do you think that that was successful?
I do, you know, but there's a deeper part to this that you'll probably not hear a whole lot about. But you know, there's you know, a fraction between the party right now, between the Mises caucus and everybody else, and
agreed,
like less candidates ran since Mises took over. The word on the street is that they've, you know, been willing to broker deals for, you know, what they consider candidates that they find appropriate, that they won't run people against Republicans that they find to be good enough. And
oh, it looks like we lost him for a minute. So Mises Caucus, to kind of explain to you guys in a little bit.
Can you hear me?
You're back. You're back. Yeah, you're back. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me at all?
Yes. Yeah, we might be losing you. Yeah? Yes? No? No? Yes? Yes? No? Your thumbs up from your iPhone, that registered. Yes?
Can you?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I don't know. Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey,
I can't hear you. My phone rang, so sorry. Let me try taking the pods out and putting them back in.
I just messaged you on the side. If you leave and come back, it will fix it. All right. So while he leaves and comes back, thank you, Marla. I see your comment here. And by the way, we're not done. So if you can hang out for a little bit and finish this out, it'd be worth your time. Overall, with the Libertarian Party, let me explain the Mises Caucus versus the others, and a lot of it is coming from Louisiana Libertarian group. There's a big divide, very similar, and this is where I posed the question to Josh Smith on the Twitter Spaces the other night. Is I see it happening. The Mises Caucus, Libertarian Party are starting to fracture a little bit, very similar to what MAGA Republicans are doing, and then regular Republicans. And so with that, there we go. Freeze coming back. There we go. You're back. Yeah, when your phone rings, it messes things up. So if you want to keep filling in what you were explaining, do you remember where you were at?
Yeah, like I was gonna say that, you know, I don't want to throw shade on it because, like, you know, I'm not part of the day to day. I'm not, you know, one of these folks that's working their asses off, you know, putting their blood, sweat, and tears into what's an extremely tough job, and what's been largely a frustrating battle that is very rarely won. But I think that that's part of what's going on here. Part of the underlying tension is that, some of the people in the room don't want people negotiating on their behalf.
Sure. That's
And
that's a libertarian mindset. I get it.
Yeah, I get the whole idea of it. I'm gonna try to put my AirPods in again because it's getting loud here again.
No, that will work. You'll be good.
Please connect. Maybe not.
Yep, you're good. Right there. Right there.
Oh, yep, now I can hear you. All right, so I'm standing right where the cars come in and out and stuff. The whole place is just pandemonium, and it's just unreal. As you know, I sit in my house by myself an awful lot, so this is crazy. But I get, to me personally, I'm more of an incrementalist, where I know that there's no way that anyone, even the great Ron Paul, could go in day one, and the Fed and the Department of Education, implement nuclear energy, stop all foreign intervention and foreign aid. That's not realistic for day one.
Agreed.
And I thought the Ross Ulbricht thing was a very telling sign that Trump wants to play ball. And
agreed.
That's huge. I thought that was one of the least likely things to come out of this would be a pardon for him. He's got 2 life sentences.
Right.
That's not like small potatoes. I'd love to see the stat of how many times, somebody with 2 life sentences got pardoned. I can't think of any.
Prior, when we were live, one of the things I commented on was like, look at Bernie Madoff and look at some of these other people, Ghislaine Maxwell. They didn't get 2 life sentences. And all this guy was doing was running a website.
Yeah, running an e-commerce site that had some bad stuff going on. Well, there's
he didn't want to censor it. And it was before censorship was a thing. And it's really dumb. But all in all, man, I get what you were saying, and I was commenting just before you came back. When you left and came back, I was explaining the difference between the Mises Caucus, more of the libertarians that are fracturing off, which is a lot of the Louisiana libertarians. That's where a lot of the separation is coming from. Like, I like Belay. You've had Belay on a lot, and I know you're a big fan of Belay. Josh Smith and him kind of collide, and that's where the fracturing, I believe, is happening, is the Mises and them. But ultimately,
I haven't heard that about Smith and Belay. I haven't heard that one.
Josh Smith and Belay. Well, they brought it out on your spaces, man. When I joined.
I'm kidding.
Okay, no, I was making sure. I was like, what in the world? But no, I honestly think that the Mises Caucus is where I more fall, because I think we need to evolve a little bit as libertarians. We don't need to give up everything, but evolve a little bit. And I think that's what they're doing. Overall, as a sense, I want to say this is one of the best libertarian national conventions that has been around. I don't know how many you've paid attention to. What would you gauge this?
Not only would I say this is one of the best libertarian anythings ever, I think this is one of the most unique things in politics in my lifetime. If you would have said, we were talking about this beforehand when everybody was up in arms about inviting RFK and Trump, Shanahan's going to be here tomorrow, Vivek was here. If you would have asked me beforehand, Ross Ulbricht will get pardoned if we do this, would you do it? I would have said yes instantly. And I mean, I would hope that a lot of people would have said the same, but I think it's way more than that. And did you hear he said he was going to put a libertarian in his cabinet?
Mhm.
And and then he said something else, in his administration. And that's what we were speculating on. I mean, the cabinet was one of the first ones I was thinking about. Like, would he put a libertarian in his cabinet? I mean, and then that's 4 years of exposure to libertarianism, and that's not even counting if it's not Vivek, because Vivek,
Right.
came hard out of the closet as a libertarian yesterday.
Mhm.
I mean, he was acting like the most libertarian guy in the room. Like, I mean, that was just next level. And it's like all of a sudden, like somebody waved a magic wand, and now there's libertarians, and they're for real, and they're intelligent, and they're taking over parts of the government. And I mean, I thought Vivek was so sharp, and similar to Trump. Like, I'm sure you were wondering the same thing. Like, how was Trump going to handle like what was obviously going to be a hellish environment?
Mhm.
And then when I saw the room, I thought it was going to be in the bigger room. Then when I saw the room, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so loud. And because it was the same room that they had Vivek in yesterday. And it's like, wow, I mean, people are going to be on top of this, stage. I mean, could you tell how close I was? I mean, I don't know if
Mhm. Yeah.
if that came through, but I mean, I was like, I don't know, maybe, I mean, less than 20 feet from Trump. And,
Yeah.
they had tables in the front row, like tables that sat like probably 8, like those big circular tables. And then they got rid of all of those and piled in like, probably 5 rows where those were, that were like, there was no aisles, there was no anything. And so it was like 100 plus chairs of 5 rows within 30 feet of Trump, and
See.
then an aisle, and then the regular seats.
Well, they made a whole hubbub. The libertarians did. It was all over my ex that the chair Angela kicked out a whole bunch of staunch libertarians, well, MAGAs, from the front seats, and said the front seats are going to be people that are undecided on who they're going to vote for. And a bunch of MAGA people were upset, and the libertarians were sharing it, saying you don't deserve to be there. But I honestly think that's the right move. I think that's
No,
the right move.
if I heard you correctly, I think more what she said was that those were for delegates, because they've had,
If it's for delegates, that's even more of a smart move. I agree.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm not a delegate, so I don't have idea what's been going on. But I've been hearing reports from my friends that they've kind of rearranged the schedule multiple times, and like motions have come out of nowhere, and it's just been pretty chaotic. And so they were still meeting even last night with Vivek, or no, it was yesterday with RFK. They were still meeting like almost until almost an hour after RFK was supposed to start. But now what I hear is that RFK, his plane got delayed for whatever reason, and so he was actually late too, so it actually worked out. But they've been going like nonstop with these meetings and rearranging the schedule, and they were supposed to have the presidential debate this afternoon. Then they moved it to 9:00 this morning. So I think we found that out like pretty late last night, that was either a possibility or was for sure going to happen. And so, so the delegates were all still, it's downstairs from where the Trump room was. And so probably, 30 minutes before Clint and Josh spoke, Clint and Dave spoke. Can you hear me? I saw it broke up my video.
Yep, you're back. You're back.
So the delegates started to come in, and then that's when Angela said, give up your seats to them. And, I actually saw the opposite in my feed. My feed was all Angela was kicking MAGA out, and, like they made it seem like it was drama. But it was just something stupid. Like they should have just actually said that those rows were reserved. And
Agreed.
because so I have a media pass, and I had to be in the room at 4 p.m. Like there was a long line for media, and we had to go through the metal detector, and we had to, get all of our stuff looked at, and there's Secret Service everywhere, and so and they had reserved on some stuff, but barely anything, and then they didn't really enforce anything, and so we were there what we thought was like 4 hours early. We didn't realize that there was going to be like Mike Lee and Dave Smith and those things ahead of time. So it was just I don't know who dropped the ball, but it just seemed like the ball was dropped on that. And
Okay.
But nothing like hitting the ground like with people already kind of on edge.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. It gives a little bit of more of the atmosphere. That there was a lot of chaos and just what was going on. I had no idea Mike Lee was going to be there. No idea at all. Until I saw your first video.
I tried to DM him about Gabriel being there and trying to get him to repost that. That actually got reposted a bunch, so that was really nice. But I felt really bad for Gabriel because he was like, pretty dejected that there was no mention of Julian, even though it was in the notes that got sent to the media ahead of time. I kind of wish I wouldn't have told him that it was in the notes, but we had no idea Mike Lee was going to be there either. And did the second Mike Lee upload? Did you see the one with he did a Trump imitation?
I have not seen that yet. No.
For whatever reason, I think the Wi-Fi cut out while I was trying to upload stuff, or I tried to upload too much, or I don't know. Secret Service figured out I was there, or whatever the problem happened to be. But he did a pretty excellent Trump imitation.
Well,
told a funny story, and I tried to, when we were texting, I tried to upload it, and I think that's when everything went chaotic on my phone. But
well, dude, thanks for jumping on, and again, thank you for the content that you were sharing right then. Because when I saw that, I was like, damn it. As soon as I saw Trump was coming out, I ran up to the computer and went live, and I was like, I got to cover this. I wasn't planning to do this at all tonight, but I just, after watching everything, and I'm like, someone's got to actually make this case and actually keep connecting these dots that Dave Smith did. By most of us from the Republican side and the Libertarian side, we see eye to eye on about 60 to 70% of things. Why can't we start working together and making this happen? And it's crazy, but I want to say this was a huge event, and I want to say it was a good success for the Libertarians.
Well, and you got to decide what's important. We never get anything, and so.
Correct.
Somebody was saying they were one of my MAGA followers was saying something about gay rights or whatever, and I'm like, dude, if that's even on your list right now, you're not paying attention, that's
right. Oh, we lost him for again. Oh, looks like you're coming back. You good?
I feel like I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. You're good.
So I'm like, if that's even, if I cared about stuff like that, if that was, I don't care at all about that. I have gay friends and gay relatives, and, I could care less about any of that stuff. But if I did care about that, that still wouldn't be in my top 100, and,
no.
The economy, war, debt, all of these things, way, way, way higher on the list than any sort of social issue or thing I'd like to see or not like to see, and Trump did a lot of those things, and I think he made some mistakes, and I think he's owned those mistakes, and it boils down to, barring some sort of amazing event happening between now and November, it's going to be Trump versus somebody, and I can't imagine that the somebody is going to be any better than Trump. And RFK, I don't know if you watched any of that from yesterday, but
I did. Dude, I've been watching the whole event.
okay. And again, being in the middle of it is kind of hard to digest everything that's going on. But, he basically said he was going to support the Constitution. And I leaned over to Massey and I go, isn't that non-negotiable? Isn't that
correct.
what we're supposed to do?
It's taking up the oath of office, which is upholding the Constitution.
It's like the old Chris Rock joke, dudes want to get credit for stuff they're supposed to do. You don't get credit for upholding the Constitution. That's literally the whole country and the job, and it's not, there's no the Constitution, but only on weekdays, or unless you get a really sweet offer from a donor or something. It's the Constitution. So that was crazy too. Did you see that I was sitting next to Massey the whole time?
Yes, I was going to call that out. That is a huge thing, guys. If you guys haven't seen it, Free was sitting there next to Massey for the whole thing last night.
Including the hour that they were late, we were in there ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then it started an hour late. So I spent 2 hours with Massey, and an hour plus of that sitting next to him. And that was pretty crazy too.
Well, and Thomas Massey comes to mind when we talk about who's going to be in the cabinet or in his administration, and he says Libertarian.
He hates Massey.
I still see it happening. I still see it happening.
No way. I would bet you on this one.
Okay.
I would bet you on this one.
We'll see, man.
Well, he supported DeSantis. So there's no way.
We'll find out.
I think I think he's off the list. I would say that's kind of one of the things I thought about. Is this a dumb thing that we all got excited about? Because then it's going to end up being Vivek, and he just basically announced somebody we all knew that was going to be in his administration. Is this as bad of an announcement as his kids are going to be involved?
Vivek will be VP if anybody asks me, because there's enough signs showing it. Vivek being there tonight, sitting down with the VP from the Libertarian Party. What else do you want? Come on, guys. But overall, we'll go ahead and wrap up here. I don't know if you want to just jump, but I'll let you go give your closing statements if you want to jump, and then I can give mine on the wrap up of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited. I tend to be, decently optimistic at times, and I thought that everything I saw this weekend was.
There you go. You're back. You cut out.
That was weird. That was weird. That was lightning. So it was all of a sudden there was lightning and I lost my connection.
We can blame
just
Hart.
Everything seemed like it was going in the right direction, and I think people realize we're freaking right, dude. We're not talking witchcraft here. It's just freedom. You do right. You, I'll do me. If we want to do it together, we can do that. If we don't, we can do that as well. If you do it inside your own house, nobody should care. And, the government should do very little, and you should pretty much never even notice they exist. And, nobody should be against that. You know, the only people who should be against that are the ones that are profiting off of access.
Right.
And, you know, it just seems like people are realizing like the language of freedom is something we all get now. Like after, you know, however many years of the Patriot Act and all the stuff that's been happening since then, and just like slowly rolling, you know, more and more downhill to the point where we're 35 trillion in debt, and you know, we've got all these wars going on, $2 million missiles at countries most of us didn't even know existed before, you know, this. And you know, we can't tell who's lying, but it's probably us. You know, people are getting it, man, and you know, it's refreshing, and it feels good, and you know, I'm hoping that just continues. And you know, I hope that like this was like a humble Trump of, you know, he does want to be like that, and he does see himself this way, and this is not a show. This is actually, he sees himself as a freedom fighter like we do.
I 100% agree. I wish he would have changed his approach at the beginning. That was my big thing with it. Other than that, I loved his message, and I don't remember who said it in the comments way back here, and I'm not going to scroll back through them all, but it was it was overall, actually Russo was the one that said it. It was one of his best speeches that he had. And I would say I kind of agree with you, but he needs to know his audience. If he would have started off with talking about Ross, talking about the things that he wants to shut down, talking about no CDBC, all of those things, CBDC. If he was to start off with all of that and then ask for the support, it would have went more positive for him. But he jumped right in without even sharing a whole lot to show that we align. And if he would have done that, he would have got a lot more buy-in. But overall, I want to say this weekend was fantastic. And it's not even over yet. We still have the best to come, and that is tomorrow.
Well, I'll be interested in seeing if you have the same take after you see what I had, because I feel like it was so palpable. And like, I know he does that, like stand there and kind of soak it in move regularly, but it seemed like it went longer, or maybe it was just my perspective. But like, I feel like he was trying to like tire them out, like, you know, boo it out now and get tired. But like, I felt like it was real tense when he came out, and I kind of feel like he's, you know, I mean, I haven't even said this part, but like, dude, like, if love him or hate him, I mean, the balls on this dude to step into this arena of like, I mean, he knew this was going to be
right,
an absolute mess. You know, best case scenario, it was just going to be hostile. And I mean, the dude's balls, you know, and then he just, you know, like he never looked unnerved for a second. He just talked over it. And I mean, he like, you know, I mean, I felt like he, you know, stiff armed like a couple hundred people that were like trying to get to him. And he got like 10 more yards and 10 more yards and 10 more yards. And then the way he started out, I feel like he's like, I could take this either way. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to egg it on, and then I'm going to go into the other stuff. Like, it just like, wait till you see my video. Like, there's kind of like some smirks and some like hand gestures. And I'm not like a big Trump guy. So like, I don't watch him regularly. I don't know if those are like regular mannerisms or what, but it was just like, you know, like a bravado type of thing. And I feel like he enjoyed, you know, taking it a little bit and then turning it right back around and, you know, owning the room. Yeah. And so it was like the whole thing was just nuts. I mean, I don't think that I'm even capable of explaining anything of what happened the last month, let alone that hour. I mean, that's the president of the United States. Like,
Right.
you know, at the Libertarian conference, at the Hilton, I mean, like, it was just unreal, and chickens and kazoos and like unreal, dude, absolutely unreal.
Dude, I am super jealous, as I've been saying for the last 24 hours. But thank you for being there, sharing your
My
content,
pleasure, man.
jumping on. This is awesome. When you get back, of course there's you're still gonna be there tomorrow. Are you gonna be there for Ron Paul tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm here. I leave Monday, so I'm here. There's like
Good.
a presidential gala tomorrow night. Ron Paul, Shanahan, the presidential announcement. Angela got reelected. We didn't even talk about that. She got reelected today.
I'm 50-50 on it. I'm like, But
I mean, if you like this, that was Angela. I mean,
I think she was more led with the Mises Caucus to do it. I don't think she wanted to do it.
I don't know. Like, were you on my space when she jumped on?
No, I didn't know she jumped on.
Yeah, she jumped on. Like, I mean, she was getting like 24/7 criticism. I don't remember if we were talking about Trump. It must have been Trump, because we were talking about Trump. It must have been. I want to say it was the day after, and David Mosgrip texted her and said, "Jump on with us," and she jumped on, and like,
oh, that's cool.
And she was like getting it handed to her like left and right, like almost like a try-and move, I would call it at this point, where everybody was hating on her. Everybody was hating on her still today. Like, they were still like doing motions about killing this thing today, and and she gets on with she barely knows David. He's a Florida county guy. I don't think she knows me at all, or most people that don't know me but know me don't have a high opinion of me, because they only see my memes or whatever that sometimes don't get much love, and
right.
And she hops on, and like, I mean, she was on for like a half hour, and I must have asked her a dozen questions, and so I thought that was she's got balls too. I mean, she's all weekend she's been kind of stepping into it, and one of the Kennedy people asked me, like, well, why are no women involved? I'm like, look at Angela. I mean, like, Angela, I think Angela's like, yeah, she's like, Angela's so good at this. I think you missed that she's a woman, and
right.
like, because she's just like, kind of, all of us being created equal and stuff. She's really good at what she's doing. And, so I and again, I'm not involved in the day to day. I don't know, like, why some of the states don't like her. I mean, and there could be very good reasons for that, but this was a huge win. Whoever was involved in it, I mean, huge props to them, because I mean, this is total game changer, and all of the naysayers were completely proven wrong, in my humble opinion.
100%, man. Well, we'll knock it out here. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
You soon, man.
You have a good night.
Take care, everybody.
All right, guys. Well, everybody go follow Free on X. You can't not follow Freedom for Us for All on X. And he is really like him and I hit it off when we start talking about libertarians and being free and getting out from the two-party system. And when he got the media pass and got there, I was super jealous. I was telling him I'm jealous, all of the above, and now I'm super jealous after watching the last 24 hours. But ultimately, this event, Trump going and talking, Trump's speech was really well. Wish he would have handled it a little bit differently, more like Vivek and Mike Lee at the beginning, kind of get people's buy-in and then ask for the support, or imply that you want their support. I think that would have went better. But overall, this is where I'm going to end it. This is where we're going to start seeing changes in the politics and the government of the United States of America. We are seeing an evolution of parties trying to separate themselves from the system and the entire corrupt organization that has been running our government for hundreds of years. This is where we're going to start seeing people come together and elect real people that are America first. America only is probably where you're going to start seeing that coming up more. Libertarians are pushing that more of American only, not America first, America only, because we have to start taking care of home. We can't be dealing with this. How many times was debt brought up with the Libertarian Party? A lot. And so you have Mike Lee talking about ending the Fed. And you have Dave Smith talking about how many trillions of dollars in debt we're going to be handing to our grandchildren. This is where we're going to start seeing change. You saw a hand crossing over the aisle to bring unity and to try to compromise, and people come together in this scenario. And I think this was fantastic. So I thank you guys for tuning in. This has gone on a lot longer than I anticipated, but it was a great conversation. Share this out. Get it into everybody's hands, especially MAGA's hands. We got to realize that the Libertarians and the Republicans and the Conservatives see eye to eye a lot more than we realize. And so we can start bringing it together and moving in a positive direction and setting the stage for 2028. 2024 is already in the bag. Everybody's got their minds made up. Let's focus on 2028, how we're going to bring our country back in alignment. And you guys have a great holiday weekend. I appreciate you tuning in tonight, and we will talk to you guys later.